Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all of your emotions, all of your desires, all of your fears, all the deceitfulness of riches within one's heart, all of the arrogance and pride and the sepulchral mouth and the forward mouth within oneself, all of the hatred and jealousy and envy and quarreling and fighting within oneself, and bring it to balance within yourself. Bring it under subjection unto the knowledge of Yahushua Mashiach in every single word, every thought, and every single part of your being that tries to exalt itself against the knowledge of Yahushua Mashiach. And bring your mind and your body to center. And bring it to its fullness. And then wait for the Ruach breath to fill your heart and your mind. For today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has given to us to Kaphar and to afflict ourselves and to humble ourselves before Him. For when we humble ourselves under the mighty right hand of Yahuwah, who holds the 7 stars in His right hand, who allows us to move upon the celestial circles and move upon these 7 muads and these cogs and these muads and these appointed times, that we may yield ourselves to the righteousness of Amun, the righteousness of faith. We no longer walk according to our own way and our own thoughts and our own mind, but according to His way and His thoughts. So this Yom, we acknowledge the one who made all the the mountains and 7 mountains of the earth, the rivers and streams that overflow in that flood, the one who gives life and understanding to all creatures and animals and creeping things of the earth, the one who gives life and understanding to every male and female who believes on His name and fills them with His enlightenment and His thought and His neshama, Yahuwah Elohim. So this Yom, as we move forward in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, and patience, meekness, temperance, and munah, but we will in no wise clear the guilty, not only for ourselves and for others, not even for ourselves and for others. Right, so this is, right, we talked about this last time, going from Pesach. It was just actually the first muad that we did. Pesach, right, where we took the Pesach at night, at evening, right, during the time when Yahushua was crucified. And then we moved into Chag Matzah, because Yahushua had to get down from the totality before that day came in. He was killed in between the suns on the 13th day. And we know that he was doing that not only for ourselves, but for the sins of the whole world. Then we went into Bakur, first fruit. Then after Bakur, first fruit, waving the sheep, we counted 49 days to Chag Shibur on the 50th day. I say we gave our wave offering, and that culminate another Chag Muad. Then now we just passed Yom Teruah. Yom Teruah was when we blew the Ruah Teruah. We blew our shofar to sound the Teruah for the inhabitants of the world, knowing that the storms are coming, the tempests are coming, and everything that you see today is not a reflection of what we said, but it was just a reflection of what Yahuwah's will was for the earth. And now we're on the 6th feast, the 6th Muad, which is Kaphar, which is the Day of Atonement, as some would say in English. It is the Day of Atonement where we afflict ourselves and we bring ourselves to a humble state. All these are a part of the Muads. As we approach the 7th Muad, it's important to have one's mind fixed on all these days and all these things. Why? Because it's important. Right, so this is the Pseudepigrapha, Volume 2, Book of Jubilees, chapter 12, verse 22. Book of Jubilees, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 2, Pseudepigrapha, Jubilees, 12:22. And it says, and he finished talking and praying, and behold, the word of Yahuwah was sent to him by my hand, saying, come forth from your land and from your kin and from your father's house into the land which I shall show you, and I shall establish you as a great and numerous people. So we look at Abraham in here getting a command, and he sent it by his hand. And he's saying, what? And I shall barak you, right? Just like he baraked Adam in the beginning. He said, I will bless you, and I shall make your name great. He said, I'm going to make you great. He said, what do you mean, make you great? Just like Yahushua said, he said, you want to be great? He said, those who do the commandments and those who teach them shall be called great in the Malkut, the kingdom of Shamayim. And it says, and you will be Barak in the land, and all nations of the earth shall be Barak. All nations of the earth will bless themselves by you. And whosoever blesses you, I shall Barak. And whosoever curses you, I shall curse. Because when Yahuwah makes you great, he said, you got to be careful what you say. He said, be careful what you say, good or bad. And he said, good or evil. Why? Because it's important. Right? And it says, and whoever curses you, I shall curse. He said, you got to be real careful what you say. Why? Because Yahuwah says, I'm going to make your name great. And he said, be careful what you say, good or bad, or wrong. Right? Verse 24 says, I shall be Elohim for you and your son, and for the son of your son, and for all your seed. So just like a seed that comes out of a man and he impregnates a woman, he said, I'm gonna be with your seed forever. So therefore, this father teaches the son, and that son grows up to a father and teaches his son, and that father grows up to the father and teaches their son. And by doing so, you continue on the lineage. And if the father has no son, the inheritance goes to the daughter. For this is true, right? And it says, do not fear henceforth for all generations of the earth. I am your Elohim, right? And this is 29. This is what I wanted, verse 25. And Yahuwah Elohim said to me, open his mouth. So after he did all that, Yahuwah said, open his mouth. Open his mouth and his ears. He gave him an open ear and he opened his mouth. To do what? So that he might hear and speak with his mouth in the language which is revealed, because it ceased from the mouth of all the sons of men from the day of the fall. From the day of the fall, what fall? From Adam. It ceased. Why? And it says, and I opened his mouth and his ears and his lips, and I began to speak with him in Hebrew, Abri. He spoke to him in, how you say, Amar Abri. Right? And he said, in the tongue of creation. Bereshit bara Elohim Hashemayim Qahalath. Right? He gave him he gave the language of the creation. The language of the creation. Lashon Bereshit. Right? And it says, and he copied them. He copied them. Why? And it says, and he began studying them thereafter. And I caused him to know everything which he was unable to understand. And it says, and he studied them in the 6th month of rains. So what feast we on? We're in the 7th feast. We're in the 7th month. So we had 6 months of rain all the way to this feast. From the he said the 6 months of rain. We just went through the whole thing. And now we're in the 7th month. So what do you think Yahuwah was expecting from him studying from the 6 months of rain, from springtime all the way till now? He expecting a harvest and growth and intellect and neshama and understanding and wisdom to be poured out. That's what he was expecting. Right? So this is the book of Leviticus chapter 16. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 1. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 1. It says, and Yahuwah spake to Moshe after the death of his 2 sons of Aharon. It says, when they drew near to Yahuwah and died. So people saying, what are we doing right now? This is called Kaphar. When you afflict yourself, something should have died inside of you. And it says, and Yahuwah said to Moshe, tell Aharon your brothers not to come at any time into the Kudash place inside the veil before the mercy seat that is on the ark, so that they may not die. Right? That they may not die. Right? So here we go. This is going to verse 6. It says, and Aaron or Harun shall offer the bull of a sin offering for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house. So he's saying he got to make an atonement for himself. He got to fast for himself and for his house. That's what I said. That's what an Ish has to do. That's what an Isha has to do. You got to fast not only for yourself and for the whole house. That's everybody that's a part of the house. Not only you. It ain't all about people saying, when you was a child, you spake like a child. But when you became mature, you put away childish things. You got to make an atonement not only for yourself, but also for the whole house you a part of. Because this ain't about, people saying this whole thing ain't about just one person and yourself. He said this is a interdependent type of thing. And it says, then he shall take the 2 goats and set them before Yahuwah at the entrance of the tent meeting, at the entrance of the door. And it says, and Aharon shall cast lots over the 2 goats, and a lot for Yahuwah and a lot for Azazel. Why are you giving one to Azazel? And it says, and Aharon shall present the goat on which the lot fell for Yahuwah, and use it as a sin offering. So they cast lots for which goat, which one gonna be for the sin offering, and one gonna be for Yahuwah. And he says, but the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before Yahuwah to make an atonement over it, that it may be sent away in the wilderness to Azazel, to the demon. So making an offering to Azazel, to the spirit, the Malachi, who taught things and caused all the sons of men to cry to Yahuwah. And get what it says. And he's still here today. He said, all right, so what's going on inside of human beings today? And it says right here, but the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel shall be presented alive before Yahuwah to make an atonement over it, that it may be sent away into the wilderness to Azazel. And Aharon shall present the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house. He shall kill the bull and the sin offering for himself. So you look at your offering that you're doing, and people saying, why were people killing animals? Because they have no respect for having over Yahuwah's creation. They didn't have no respect for the animals. They had no respect for the things that Yahuwah gave them to be in charge of. And being that they didn't have no respect for it, they just destroyed them at will, and placing their sin on an innocent creature that did nothing wrong. And that's what people do today. When people don't want to actually admit they're wrong, when people don't want to actually admit who they are, when people don't want to actually admit, hey, I lied on this person, and if people don't want to actually admit to and stop slandering people and gossiping about people to make themselves look better than somebody else, they only do that because the only reason they're doing it is because they're trying to cast their sin on an innocent person who ain't got nothing to do with what they're doing. That's the only reason they're doing it. Because they need a goat to take it, a scapegoat. And get what it says. And Aharon shall present the bull as a sin offering for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall kill the bull and the sin offering for himself. And he shall take the censer full of coals of the fire and of the altar before Yahuwah, 2 handfuls of sweet incense beaten small, and he shall bring it inside the veil, and put the incense on the fire before Yahuwah, that the cloud of incense may cover the mercy seat that is over the testimony. He got to do all this. And they said, that's what you got to do. People saying, why? All these practices, we're not telling them all. These are not, when we look at it, these things, people look at it as something that's, oh, we got to do this every single time. No, we're talking about things that you have to do within yourself. And it says, so that he does not die. You have to make an atonement. You have to kafar. You have to do that in order that you don't die. He says, well, why are we afflicting ourselves? So we don't die. Because the only reason we're alive, just like the book of Davarim chapter 4, he said the only reason you're alive because of the commandments. As it is this day, the only reason you're alive because of what you're keeping the commandments. That's the only reason you're here. And it says, and he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it with his finger on the front of the mercy seat on each side. And because you want mercy. He said, why you gotta understand all of this? Because it's important. And in front of the mercy seat, he shall sprinkle some of the blood with his finger 7 times. He said, why you gotta do it 7 times? Why you got 7 muads? Why you got 6 days he created the earth and 7th he rested? That's why you gotta do it 7 times. Oh, you got 7 celestial circles? Yeah, you have to do it 7 times. Why do you think David said, I sing praises 7 times a day? He said, you got to do it 7 times. And guess what he says? Then he shall kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people and bring its blood inside the veil. So all these are part of his offering, right? So this is verse 20. This is verse 20. And when he has made an end of atoning for the Kudash place in the tent of meeting, the house, and the altar, he shall present the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it all the iniquities of the people of Yasharal. So what do you think? You're making atonement for yourself, which means you're confessing all your sins, and the people that's a part of your house. And the people that's a part of your house. Both, he said male and female. He said everybody got to do this. Right? Over it, all the iniquities of the people of Yasharal and their transgressions and all their sins. He said, for why? Why are we doing this? Because we're doing it for ourselves and for the household. Why? Because you think about your life. And it says right here, he says, and confess over it all the iniquities of the people of Yasharal and all the transgressions and all the sins, and he shall put them on the head of the goat and send it away in the wilderness by the hand of a man who is readiness. He said, then send it away. Which means it gotta get out of the house. It gotta leave. Know ye not that your body's the temple of Yahuwah? He said, why do we speak about this so many times? Because know ye not that your body is the temple of Yahuwah? He said it has to leave. It has to go. It has to leave the tent. It has to leave your house. It has to leave your body. Because he prepared a tent for the sun. You got to prepare that tent for the sun. And you have to get it out of the house. And get what it says. And Aaron shall come into the tent meeting, and he shall take off the linen garments that he put on when he went into the Kudash place, and shall leave them there. That's after he finished it. And he shall, after you do all of that, and he shall bathe his body in water in the Kudash place, and put on his garments, and come out and offer a burnt offering, and a burnt offering of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. All this is all part of it. Right, so we go into Leviticus chapter 23. Right, Leviticus or Yachar or Levi chapter 23 verse 1. Levi chapter 23 verse 1. Levi 23 verse 26. 23 verse 26. Leviticus 23:26. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, now on the 10th day of this 7th month, or Shabba'i Kadash, is a day of atonement, or Kaphar. It shall be for you a time of Kudash convocation, and you shall afflict yourselves, or anah yourselves, and present a food offering to Yahuwah. You shall not do any work on that very day, for it is a day of a Kaphar, to make a Kaphar for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. For whosoever will not, he said, afflict on that very day shall be cut off from his people. He said, you're going to die. Yahushua said, you can't do nothing without me unless you abide in the vine. Now, if you get cut off from the vine, then guess what happens? You ain't going to be able to bear no fruit. What happens when you cut the vine on a cucumber tree? There ain't going to be no fruit. What happens when you cut the vine on a watermelon plant? Ain't nothing going to grow. If you cut the vine on a grapevine, nothing's going to grow. He said, I'm going to cut you off. And guess what it says? And you shall not do any work that very day. For in that day that you make an atonement, it's verse 29. Let's go to 29. For whosoever is not afflicted on that very day shall be cut off from his people. And whosoever does any work on that very day, that person I will destroy from among his people. You would say, I'm going to send Mastama, the destroyer, after you. Like we talked about during that Pesach, He said, when you don't have the blood on the doorpost, on the threshing floor, on your door, he said, then the destroyer will pass over you. So we're trying, only reason we're afflicting ourselves, just so the destroyer will pass over you one more year. Right? And it says right here, verse 31, you shall you shall not do any work. That's how you say malakah. It is a kukah forever throughout your generations in all your dwelling places, everywhere you go. In all your dwelling places, all throughout the people. And it shall be for you a Shabbat of solemn rest. And you shall afflict yourselves on the 9th day of the month, beginning at evening. Just like a woman giving birth to a child. After 9 months, who can withhold a child from being born? As the book of Ezra says. And it says, from evening to evening you shall keep your Shabbat. He said from evening to evening. You shall keep it. You shall keep it. Right? So that word for afflicted is anah. That word for afflicted is anah. Right? That's ayin, noon, and ha. It means to be occupied, to be busy, to afflict, to humble oneself, to bow down, to be afflicted, to be humble, to weaken himself. Well, he's saying weaken yourself. Because our flesh is strong. But if we weaken it, then your inward man becomes stronger. To weaken oneself, to humble oneself, it also means to chasten yourself, to chastise you. You're chastising yourself. To submit self, to defile. But also means to exercise. It means force. It also means gentleness. But in one word it means silenced. He said, I come to silence you. It says to do violence. He said, you do violence to yourself. Why are you afflicting yourself? Why are you humbling yourself? Why is he making us do this? Why? So this is to do what? Because it's going to be an atonement for you. Right? That word for atonement is kafar. That word for atonement is kafar. It means it's going to cover you. That's what a kafar means. It means to cover you, to purge you. It's going to purge you. How you say? It's purge you of rebellion, purge you of hatred, purge you of jealousy, purge you of strife, purge you of lying, purge you of every single behavior that you don't like about yourself. And it says to make an atonement, to make reconciliation, because Yahuwah wants you to reconcile with him. To cover with pitch, to cover you, to cover over. That's what he wants to do, to cover over you. Right? So this is the book of Leviticus, the book of 1 Samuel. Shamuel, 1 Samuel chapter 25. 1 Samuel chapter 25. I think it's 1 Samuel. 2 Samuel 25. 2 Samuel 25 or 2 Samuel, I think it's 1 Samuel. I think it's 1 Samuel. Yeah, 1 Samuel 25. 1 Samuel 25 and 1. It says, now Shamuel died, and all Yasharal assembled to mourn for him. And they buried him in the house of Ramah. Then Daud rose and went down to the wilderness of Paran, and there was a man of Moab whose business was in Carmel. The man was very rich, right? So we talked about all these rich people last time. And he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And the woman was discerning and beautiful, but the man was harsh and badly behaved. He was a Calebite. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep, so David sent 10 young men. And David said to the young men, go up to Carmel and go up to Nabal and greet him in the name thus, and thus you'll greet him. It says, peace be with you and peace be your house. Shalom, shalom. Because remember, we're doing this for our households. And he says, and peace, shalom, to all you have. He said, peace to everything you own. He ain't covered in nothing he owns. Here is, I hear that you have shears. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we did them no harm, which means we ain't treat them evil. And they missed nothing all the time that they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore, let my young men find favor in your eyes, and we come on a feast day. Please give whatever you have at the hand of your servants and your sons, David. And when David's young men came, they said to Nabal in the name of David, and they waited. And Nabal answered David's servant, "Who is David, the son of Yeshai, David, that there are many servants these days breaking away from their masters. Shall I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have killed in my shears and give them to men who come I know not where?" So David's young men turned away and came back and told him all this. And David said to his men, "Every man strap on his sword." And every man of them strapped on his sword, and David also strapped his sword. And about 400 men went up after David, with 200 remained in the baggage. Right, so all this happened. Right, so this skipping over, going to verse 26. And it says, "Now then, my master, as Yahuwah lives, and as your soul lives, because Yahuwah has restrained you from blood guilt and from saving with you your own hand, now then, let your enemies and those who seek to do evil to my master be as Nabal. Now let this present that your servant has brought you to my master be given to the young men who follow my master. Please forgive the trespass of your servant." So you make an atonement not only for you, but and for your house. You say, why you got to do that? Because you got to make an atonement for not only for yourself and for the house. Because this ain't no selfish type thing. This ain't selfishness. Even if your husband wicked, even if your household is just wicked, he said you still got to do it. He said you still got to do it. And it says right here, "And now let this present," and she brought something, "forgive the trespass of your servant. For Yahuwah will certainly make my master a sure house, because of my master is a fighting the battles of Yahuwah, and evil shall not be found in you so long as you live. If men rise up, pursue you, and to seek your life, the life of my master shall be bound, and the bundle of the living in the care of Yahuwah your Elohim, and the lives of your enemies. And she sling out," it says, he shall sling out as from the hollow of a sling. It says, "And when Yahuwah has done to my master according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has appointed a prince over Yasharal, my master shall have no cause of grief or pains of conscience, and having shed blood without a cause, or for my master working salvation himself." Because you're going to end up doing it. He said, you're going to do it without a cause. You're going to work in salvation yourself. Because that's what people do today. He said, you're going to do it yourself. And he says, "And when Yahuwah has dealt well with my master, then remember your servant." Right? So all that. So we're skipping over. Verse 35, it says, "Then David received from her hand what she had brought to him. And he said to her, Go up in peace to your house. And see, I have obeyed your voice, and I have granted your petition." All right, this is verse 36. "And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he was holding a feast in his house." Right, this is Feast of Turah that he's in. Like the feast of a king. This is Feast of Turah. He was like a king, and Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunk. So she told him nothing at all until the morning light, until the dawning of the day. Just like the dawning when we gave Turah. What happened when we gave Turah? We did it at the dawning of the day. We blew the Turah. And she did it at the dawning of the day. She sounded Turah at the dawning of the day. And what she did. And what she did. He told him nothing until the morning light. In the morning, when the wine had gone out of Nabal, his wife told him these things. So all this happened at nighttime. They would come to kill him. He's like, "Man, please give us something." And she waited till the dawning of the day when the sun, when Yahushua, he told the people, "Ruah to ruah," right there in the morning time. And guess what happened? In the morning, when the wine had gone out from the ball, his wife told him these things. She blew the Turah. And his heart died within him. So what do you think we did when we sounded Turah? What is that supposed to bring inside of a person? You're supposed to die within you. Things are supposed to die within you. Ruah to ruah. But we on Kaphar now. And you just see Abigail making a atonement for her house and for herself. And guess what happened? And he said he received it. Just like Aaron went to the temple and he said, Yahuwah, he doing all these offerings, so Yahuwah would receive what he actually did. It says, and in the morning, when the wine had gone out in the ball, his wife told him all these things, and his heart died within him, and he became a stone. And about 10 days later, Yahuwah struck Nabal and he died. And he said, well, that's what we on, till far. Yahuwah struck him and he died. Notice how people are dying with these offerings. The thing should have died within oneself. He's, man, I died within myself. Then he would say, I died. Everybody died, right? So this is the book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 1. Colossians chapter 1, verse 1. Or Colossians chapter 3, verse 1. It says, if you then have been raised with Mashiach Yahushua, seek those things which are above, where Mashiach is seated at the right hand of Elohim. Set your minds on things above and not on things in the earth. For you have died. We done sounded Turah in the morning time. He said, you should have died. This Kaphar. We are renewing ourselves. We are humbling ourselves. We are making reconciliation with Kaphar. For you have died. And your life is hidden with Mashiach in Elohim, in the Master. When Mashiach, who is your life, appears, because you have died, then you also will appear in him in Kabod, because you have died. The Nabal inside of you have died. The burning strange incense, he said, you have died. Something have died within you. And he says, you will appear in him in Kabod. Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you. So you haven't died. What do you think Kaphar is for? Kaphar is to humble yourself, to afflict oneself, to chastise oneself. That's what it's for. It says, put to death, therefore, is earthly in you, sexual morality, adultery, fornication, impurity, impure offering, uncleanness, passions, evil desires, covetousness, which is idolatry. This is all for Kaphar. This is what Kaphar is for. On the account of these, the wrath of Yahuwah is coming. That's the reason why you have to die. These have to die. And in these you too once walked when you were living in them. But now you must put them all away. Anger, wrath, malice, slander, obscene talk from your mouth. This is what Kaphar is for. To humble yourself, to afflict oneself, to chastise oneself. Do not lie one to another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on a new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge of the image of its creator. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of it. Because to put to death what is earthly in you will give you life. Right? So this is the Psalm of Solomon. This is the Psalm of Solomon. Pseudepigrapha, Psalm of Solomon. Psalm of Solomon. Psalm of Solomon, chapter 10, verse 1 says, Simcha, or happy, is the man, O woman, whom Yahuwah remembers with rebuking and protects from the evil way with the whip. So what was the Kaphar for? It says, you shall keep Kaphar for it, to purify yourself. Let's see. It says, that he may be cleansed from the sin, that it may not increase. So all the things he's telling an individual to do, that is Yahuwah's whip. When you afflict yourself, when you put to death what is earthly in you, that is Yahuwah's whip. That is his purifying of you. That's what Kaphar is. You're doing that to yourself. You're rebuking yourself. Some people can't even rebuke themselves. He said, I gotta rebuke me. I gotta chastise me. I gotta annul me. That's the whole point of Kaphar. And get what it says. And then after I chastise me and I renew me, then I'm making atonement for myself. Then I got to do it for my whole household. And then it says sin, that my sin may not increase, that your sins don't increase, that all those things you got to put to death don't increase. And then he says, the one who prepares his back for the whip shall be purified. The one who prepares himself for Kaphar shall be purified. That's what Kaphar is for, to purify you. And it says, for Yahuwah is good to those who endure discipline. Guess what it says? For he will straighten the ways of the righteous. That when we read in Luke 21. He said, when you see all these things happening, he said, straighten up. Straighten up. Why? He will straighten the ways of the righteous and will not bend them by discipline. Why? I'm going to straighten you out. I'm going to bend you. The same way, he said, my son and daughter, do not forget the commandment of your father and teaching your mother. And do not lean to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Because this is not for me. It's for you and for your household and for your body and for the people that's a part of your life. Why? Because when you was a child, you spake like a child. You reasoned like a child. But when you became mature, you put away childish things. Right, so this is Shir HaShirim, Sing the Songs, chapter 1, or Shir Shirah, Song of Songs, Song of Songs, chapter 1, Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 7. And it says, tell me, you whom my soul loves, where you pasture your flock, where you make it lie down at noon. For why should I be like one who veils himself beside the flock of his companions? If you do not know, O most beautiful among women, follow the tracks of the flock, and the pastures it says, and pasture your young goats beside the shepherd's tent. Where was Aaron's goat at? They were putting it right by the tent door. And guess what it says? I compare you, my love, to Maria, he said, among Pharaoh's chariots. Your cheeks are lovely with ornaments, and your neck with strings of jewels. And guess what it says? Let's go down to, let's go to same book. Same book, Shir HaShirim, or Sing the Songs. Sing the Songs. Yeah. Sing the Songs. Yeah. Verse 8, go to verse 8. And it says, the voice of my beloved, behold, he comes leaping over the mountains, bounding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle, like a young stag. Behold, he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my love. He said, arise, my beautiful one, and come away. For behold, winter is past, and rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, and the singing has come, and the voices of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree ripens its figs, and the vines are in blossom to give forth fragrance. Right? So you look at all these things that one is doing. Everything that we're doing is so that the offering can be accepted. Everything that we're doing is so that the work that is being done, even the Yahuwah sending spring rain and latter rain, is all for one to have a fragrant offering that's accepted. That's all it's for. That's all it's for. Right? So this is the book of Psalms. Actually, let's go to the book of Bereshit, chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Bereshit chapter 1, verse 26. Actually, verse 24. It says, and Elohim said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds. Livestock, that's goats, sheep, oxen, behemoth, all these things. Right? Livestock and creeping things. and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And Elohim made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the earth, on the ground, according to its kinds. And Elohim saw that it was good. Then Elohim said, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea. He said, the God of the Yam, and over the Off of the Shamayim, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Elohim created man, Adam, in his own image. In the image of Elohim he created him, male and female. It's a Karnakabah. That's why he said you make an atonement for not only for yourself, and for the whole house. And he says, and Elohim baraked them, and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. And have dominion over the God of the Yam, over the Off of the Shamayim, and over everything that creeps and moves on the earth. And Elohim said, behold, I have given every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the Shamayim, and to everything that has the breath, everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so. And Elohim saw that everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And it was evening and morning, the sixth day. What feast me on? This is the Kaphar. This is Kaphar. This is the sixth feast. The sixth Mu'ah. And amazingly, when Abraham studied Abri, he said he studied from the 6 months of rain. This is a fixed Mu'ah. He said, and guess what? He said, are you made in my image and likeness? Are you made in my image and likeness? So what is a Kaphar for? So you can be made in his image and likeness. So that's why you're purifying yourself, so you can be made in his image and likeness. That's the only reason. That's the only reason he's purifying us. Right? So this is the book of Jubilees. This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 3, pseudepigrapha. Book of Jubilees, chapter 3, pseudepigrapha, volume 2. This is the book of Jubilees, pseudepigrapha, chapter 3, volume 2. This is the book of Jubilees, chapter 3. Get there. Book of Jubilees, chapter 3. 3:15 through 17. Yeah. Chapter 3, 15 through 17. And it says, and during the first week of the first Jubilee, Adam and his wife, Keturah, who had been in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and guarding it, and we gave him, he says, and we gave him work, and we were teaching him to do everything which was appropriate for tilling, and he was tilling. It says, and it says right here, let's skip down to verse 17. It says, and at the end of 7 years, which he completed there, 7 years exactly, in the 7th month, on the 17th day, the serpent came and drew near to the woman. And the serpent said to the woman, Yahuwah commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from any tree from the garden. And she said to him, Master, he said, Yahuwah said, eat from all the fruit of the trees which are in the garden. But Yahuwah said to us, you shall not eat from the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, and you shall not touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, it is not true that you shall surely die, because Yahuwah knows that on the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will become like gods, and you will know good and evil. Yahuwah said, is it not written in your Torah, said you are gods? And if he called you in Elohim, whom the word of Yahuwah came, he said, you can't change it. He said, because he ain't never dealt so with any other people. And it says, and the woman saw that the tree, that it was pleasant, and it was pleasing to the eyes, and the fruit was good to eat. And she took some of it, and she ate. And it says, and she first covered her shame with a fig leaf. What's Kaphar for? It means to what? To cover. Kaphar means to cover, and it means to purge. It says to make reconciliation. On the day that the mouth of all the beasts and the cattle and the birds and whatever walk or move was stopped from speaking. Actually, go back up. It says right here. It says, and of the eyes of the fruit, it says, and the woman saw that the tree, that it was pleasant, and it was pleasing to the eye, and its fruit was good to eat. And she took some of it, and she ate. And she first covered her shame with a fig leaf. And then she gave it to Adam, and he ate. And his eyes were open. And he saw that he was naked. And he took fig leaf and sewed and made an apron for himself and covered his shame. And he covered his shame. And Yahuwah cursed the serpent and was angry with it forever. And he was angry with the woman, and because she had listened to the voice of the serpent, and she had eaten. And he said to her, I will surely multiply your grief. Right? And all that took place. Skipping to verse 26. And he made for them garments of skin, and he dressed them and sent them from the Garden of Eden. And on that day, when Adam went out from the Garden of Eden, he offered a sweet-smelling sacrifice, frankincense, gabanon, stacte, and spices in the morning, with the rising of the sun. He said, in the rising of the sun. Amazing, and all these things take place at the dawn. And he did it at the dawn. It says, from the day that he covered his shame. We're supposed to keep the kafar from what? Evening to evening. To cover yourself. To make reconciliation. Right? And then it says, on that day, the mouth of all the beasts and the cattle and the birds and whatsoever walked or moved was stopped from speaking, because all of them used to speak with one another with one speech and one language. We just read it. When Abraham, he said, this language has been taken away from man since the fall. Abri, they say Hebrew. And he studied it from the six months of reign. And he said all the animals stopped speaking to him. They stopped talking. He said, why the animals got to talk? And get what it says. And he sent them from the Garden of Eden of all flesh, which was in the Garden of Eden, and all the flesh was scattered. Right, so look at all that. Right, so this is the book of 4th Baruch. Oh yeah, 4th Baruch, chapter 7. 4th Baruch, chapter 7. I think this is in the same book. 4th Baruch, chapter 7, Pseudepigrapha, volume 2. 4th Baruch, chapter 7, Pseudepigrapha, volume 2. And it means verse 11. Verse 11. Actually, verse 7. Oh, chapter 7, verse 1. 4th Baruch, chapter 7, verse 1. And Baruch stood up and went out of the tomb and found the eagle sitting outside the tomb. And conversing in a human voice, the eagle said to him. So Yahuwah opened this bird's mouth. He said Narash's mouth, this eagle's mouth. Because all the animals stopped talking. Because they didn't speak in one language. And it says, Hail Baruch, the steward of Amunah. And Baruch said to him, you who speak are chosen from all birds of Shamayim. For this is clear from the gleam in your eyes. So show me what we are doing here. And the eagle said to him, I was sent here so that you may send every word you desire through me. And Baruch said to him, can you take this message to Yirmiyahu in Babylon? And the eagle said to him, certainly, that is why I was sent. And picking up the letter and 15 figs from the basket of Ahimelech, Baruch tied to the neck of the eagle and said to him, I say to you, king of birds, depart in shalom in health and carry the message for me. He said, carry it. Carry the message for me. What was it? During the 5th feast? He said, let the birds fly. That's on the 5th day of creation. And let them multiply. He said, af uf. He said, why would he send the eagle out? And he said, don't be like the raven, huh? Don't be like the raven. If you remember Kaphar, when you look at the actual ark, that word, when he said picture within, without, that word is Kaphar. That word is Kaphar. And guess what it said? He said, don't be like the raven. Oh yeah. Yeah, he said, don't be like the raven that Nuach sent out and never again returned to him in the ark, but be like the dove that on the third attempt brought word to the righteous one. He said, why? He said, be like the dove that brought the word of the righteous. Don't be like the raven, though. He said, the raven leaves ain't never coming back. He said, be like the dove and bring word to the righteous one. Why do you think he tells a person he told him to communicate to them who's taught in the word, in the bar? Why would he say that? And share. Why would he say that? He said, be like the dove that bring word to the righteous one. He said, don't be like the raven. Right? And it says right here, so also you take this precious words up to Yirmiyahu and to those prisoners with him, that it might be well with you. He said that it might be well with you. But you see this eagle talking, right? So going to book of Yashar, chapter 43. 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 We're going to verse. Book of Yashar, chapter 43. Yashar, chapter 43. Book of Yashar, chapter 43, verse 21. And it says, and the sons of Yaakov answered and said, he did not come to us, neither have we seen him from the time from our going out from until now. And when Yaakov heard their words, he cried out aloud, and he arose up and tore his garments. You should. He said, unless you're a heartless male and woman, if somebody dies. He said he tore his garments and put on sackcloth upon his loins, and he wept bitterly, and he mourned and lifted up his voice in weeping, and exclaimed and said these words, Yusuf, my son, O my son, Yusuf, I sent thee this day after the welfare of the brethren, and behold, thou hast been torn in pieces. Through my hand has this happened to my son. It grieves me, because you know how when something happens and you be like, oh man, you recount everything you did. Like, had I not told him to do that or that person do that, it would have never happened to him. It grieves me for thee, Yusuf, my son. It grieves me for thee. How sweet was thou for me during life, and now exceedingly bitter is my death to me. And guess what it says right here? Skipping down, verse 29 says, now truly Elohim, who gave thee unto me, he has taken thee from me, and such then has befallen thee. And Yaakov continued to speak like unto these words concerning Yusuf, and he wept bitterly, and he fell to the ground and became still. He said he became still. It says, and the sons of Yaakov, seeing their father's trouble, they repented for what they had done, and they also wept bitterly. So you see him confessing the sin and things he did. He's like, man, had I not done that? And then he hit the ground and he wept bitterly. And then you see his sons seeing him in the house. And then they started doing the same thing. Why? Because you look at atonement, you're not only making it for yourself, but you're also doing it for your house. And then when you see all the men falling on the ground, then guess what happens? Then they all repented and they realize we all have done wrong. It says, and Yehudah rose and lifted up his father's head from the ground, and he placed it upon his lap. And he wiped his father's tears from his cheeks, and Yehudah wept in exceedingly great weeping, whilst his father's head was reclining upon his lap, still as a stone. What happened to Nabal? He was still, he said he was like a stone, and Nabal, his heart froze within him. He was like a stone, which means he was in a humble-like state. He was like a stone when he realized that in the morning time when his wife sounded Turah on him. And guess what happened? His heart turned to a stone. And guess what happened? And the sons of Yaakov saw their father's trouble, and they lifted up their voices and continued to weep. And Yaakov was yet lying upon the ground, still as a stone. Skipping over, verse 41, and it says, going to verse 40. because the sons told the father that a wild beast took him. Verse 40 says, and the sons of Yaakov went into the wilderness to seize the beast, and behold, a wolf came toward them, and they seized him, and brought him unto his father. And they said unto him, this is the first we have found, and we have brought him unto thee, as thou didst command us. And thy son's body we could not find. Right, skipping over to verse 42. And thou didst devour the son for naught, because he committed no violence, and didst thereby render me culpable on his account. Therefore Elohim will require him that is persecuted. And Yahuwah opened the mouth of the beast in order to comfort Yaakov. So you see Yahuwah allowing the animal to speak to him. And it says, comfort Yaakov with his words. And then answered Yaakov and spoke those words unto him. It says, as Elohim liveth, who created us in the earth, and as the soul liveth, my master, I did not see thy son, neither did I tear him in pieces. But from a distant land I also came to seek my son, who went from me this day, and I know not whether he is living or dead. And I came this day into the field to seek my son, and your sons found me and seized me and increased my grief, and have this day brought me before thee. And I have now, it says, and I have now spoken all my words to thee. He says here, who will open the animal's mouth, and you see the animal, how you say, speaking to him. Even the eagle speaking to Baruch. Even as the animals were speaking to Adam in the garden. But after the fall, everybody stopped talking to each other. Right, so this is book of just the Nazarenes. Actually, Numbers chapter 22. Numbers chapter 22. Numbers chapter 22. Verse 15. Once again, Balak sent princes more in number, more honorable than these, and they came to Balaam and said to him, thus says Balak, the son of Zippor, let nothing hinder you from coming to me, for I will surely do you great honor, and whatever you say to me, I will do. Come, curse this people for me. And we just read it, Abraham, he said, whosoever curse you, I'm going to curse. He said, curse the people for me. But Balaam answered and said to his servants of Balak, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the command of Yahuwah, my Elohim, to do less or more. So you too, please stay here tonight, that I may know what more Yahuwah will say to me. And Elohim came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men have come to call you, rise and go with them, but only do what I tell you. So Balaam rose in the morning and saddled his donkey and went to the prince of Moab. But Elohim's anger was kindled because he went. And the Malach of Yahuwah took his stand in the way as an adversary. Now he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. And the donkey saw the Malach of Yahuwah standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. And the donkey turned aside out of the road and went into the field. And Balak struck the donkey and turned her into the road. And then the Malach of Yahuwah stood in the narrow path between the vineyards with a wall on either side. That's why Yahushua was in between two thieves, one on the right and one on the left. That's why when they struck him in the head with a reed, they said, Naba, who hit you? It says, he struck him and said, Naba, who hit you? And it says right here, and when the donkey saw the Malach of Yahuwah, she pushed against the wall and pressed Balaam's foot against the wall. So he struck her again. Why do you think he struck her again? Naba, who hit you? Why do you think Yahushua was beat in the head with a reed? Why do you think he was smacked in the face? And guess what it says? And he stood in a narrow place. He said, broad is the way of destruction, and narrow is the way to life, and few that be that find it. He said, Barak is the person, happy is the person, the Simcha is the person who prepares his back for the whip. For he shall be purified. what do you think is happening? He said, you can't despise chastisement. He said, why? And he says, then the anger of Yahuwah was, and guess what he did? To the wall. So he struck her again. And the Malach of Yahuwah went ahead and stood in a narrow place, where there was no way either to turn either to the right or the left. Yahuwah had you in. And get what it says. And when the donkey saw the Malach of Yahuwah, she lay down under Balaam. And Balaam's anger was kindled. And he struck the donkey with a staff. And get what happened? Then Yahuwah opened the mouth of the donkey. Just like he opened the mouth of the wolf. Just like he opened the mouth of the eagle. Just like all the animals in the garden were speaking. And he opened the mouth of the donkey, or the thong, and she said to Balaam, he said, female donkey, what have I done to you? And you have struck me these 3 times. He said, why you hit me? He said, I ain't do nothing to you. And Balaam said, because his animal was innocent. The animal was innocent. Just like that goat was innocent that they sent to Azazel. That goat was innocent. That goat is innocent that they sent out. They sent it to Azazel, and then guess what? They thinking that it's going to take away their sin. No, he said, that's innocent. It's innocent. He said, what have I done to you? Because you have made me a fool. That's the only reason. He said, that's why people do these things. He said, you made me a fool. He said, why you hit me? Because you made me a fool. He said, you make me look stupid. He said, you make me look like a fool. And get what he said? I wish I had a sword in my hand, for then I would kill you. Then the donkey, Athon, said to Balaam, am I not your donkey, on which you have ridden all your life long to this day? A lot of people ain't been in people's life their whole life. A lot of people ain't been with people their whole life. Just like people come and get immersed, they ain't been with people their whole life. So if people saying why? Because a lot of people don't understand being born again. That's the only way you're going to be with somebody your whole life. That's the only way. Right? Because it's important. Right? It's important. Right? Right? All this is important. All this is important. So, look at all that, right? Because all that's important, right? Just like we were saying, it says verse 30 says, and the donkey said to Balaam, am I not your donkey on which you have ridden all your life? To this day? Is it my habit to treat you this way? And he said to her, no. So we look at all the things that one has done. That's what Kaphar is for. He said to purify oneself, to bring one back to the state where you can say, have I been with you my whole life? Why? Because all this is all part of being purified. Reconciliation. Right? Because a lot of people ain't been in people's life their whole life. Then they come and then guess what happened? They mistreat people and then they say, oh, why am I doing this? He said, I never been with this person my whole life. And he said, why am I doing this? Because you got to purify yourself. Right? And then it says, then Yahuwah opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the Malach of Yahuwah standing in the way. Behold, I sent a Malach in the way, to keep you in the way. Beware of him and obey his voice, for he will not pardon your transgressions. That's what he did to the children of Yasharal. And get what it says. He said, that's for both male and female. That's even for Mariam, who got in Moshe's face. And get what it says. And she saw the Malach of Yahuwah standing in the way, with a drawn sword in his hand. And he bowed down and fell on his face. And the Malach of Yahuwah said to him, why have you struck your Athon these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to oppose you, because your way is perverse before me. He said, I come to stop you. The Athon saw me and turned aside before me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely now I would have killed you and kept her alive. I would have cut you off. People saying, what's Kaphar for? So you won't cut you off? So you won't die? Then Balaam said to the Malach of Yahuwah, I have what? I have sinned. Because guess what happened? Kaphar. He said, I gotta humble myself. You afflicted, you chastising yourself. I have sinned. For I did not know that you stood in the road against me. I couldn't see you. Because you know why? When you were in your other state, in the garden, you could see all these beings. He said, I couldn't see this being, even though Balaam was a magician. For some reason, he couldn't see this being right there in the middle of the road, right there in the middle of the street. And you know, a lot of people think they can see stuff, but they can't see the Malach in the middle of the street. Getting ready to swing his sword. And get what it says. He says, now therefore, if it is evil in your sight, I will turn back. Right? He said, I'm going to go back. But this is the Nazarenes. The truth of the Nazarenes, chapter 52. Actually, chapter 22. Truth of the Nazarenes, the Gospel of the Nazarene, chapter 22, verse 1. Yeah, I think it's 52. Maybe it's 52. Actually, Nazarene, actually, get there. Chapter 21. That's what chapter 21, the Gospel of the Nazarene, chapter 21. And it says, verse 1. And it says, and it came to pass that Yahushua departed from the city and went over the mountains with his disciples. And they came to the mountain whose ways were steep, and they found a man with a beast of burden. And get what happened? But the horse had fallen down, and it was overladen, and he struck it until the blood flowed. What do you think Balaam was doing to the actual being? I say the animal that he was doing, right? And it said blood flowed. And Yahushua went to him and said, son of cruelty. He said, son of cruelty, why do you strike the defenseless animal? He said, why do you think Yahushua ain't do nothing back to the people? When they struck him in the face, why do you think he ain't do nothing? Why he ain't do nothing back? Why do you think he ain't speak? Why do you think Yahushua ain't say nothing? Right, just like the first Ezra, he said, when the king sits on the throne, the woman comes and takes a crown off his head and smacks him in the face in the book of Ezra. He said, why do you think he ain't do nothing? He looks at her and smiles. He said, why do you think Yahushua ain't do that? And guess what it says? And he says, and Yahushua went, and guess what it says? But the horse had fallen down, for it had overladen, and he struck until it had blood flowed. And Yahushua went to him and said, son of cruelty, why do you strike the defenseless animal? Do you not see that it is too weak for its burden, and that it is suffering greatly? But the man answered and said, what have you to do with this, that I may strike it as it? And he said, it pleases me, for it is my own. I bought it with a goodly sum of money. Ask them who are with you, for they are mine acquaintances and know it. A lot of people ain't met no acquaintances. He said in Torah. So they don't even know, nobody knows you. He said, ask your acquaintances and they'll tell you. And get what it says. And some of the disciples answered and said, yes, Yahushua, it is as he said. We were present when he brought it. And then Yahushua said again, do you not see how it bleeds? Can you not hear also how it wails and laments? But they answered and said, no, Yahushua, we hear not its lamentations. And Yahushua was sorrowful and said, woe to you because of the dullness of your hearts. He said, woe to you because of your hearts. What is the whole point of Kaphar? To humble oneself. He said, your heart become dull. He said, I have many things to say unto you. Right now you ain't able to bear it. He said, because even Charlotte said you become dull of hearing. And get what it says. Because he said, your dullness of heart, you hear not how it laments and cries to Yahuwah, the Creator, for mercy. But thrice, woe to him against whom it cries and wails in its pain. And he went forward and touched it, and the horse stood up, and its wounds were healed. But to the man he said, go on your way and strike it no more, if you also desire to find mercy. And the man departed. Right? So what did Yahushua just do? He went out and opposed the man, just like the Malachi in the way. Just like the Malachi in the way to oppose Balaam. Because he ain't seen him. And just like the man ain't see him in here. And he ain't know what the reason he was doing it for. And he was a part of the people and heard the Torah. And he know about Balaam, but he never brought up Balaam. And get what it says. Seeing the people come to him, Yahushua said unto him, to the disciples, because of the sick, I am sick. Because of the hungry, I am hungry. And because of the thirsty, I am thirsty. Aren't we hungry? He said, you fasting, you afflicting your souls. And get what he said. Yahuwah said, because you in that state, I'm in that state. And get what it says. And he also said, I am come to do away with the sacrifices of feasts of blood. And if you cease not sacrificing and eating the flesh and blood, the wrath of Yahuwah will not cease from you. Why do you think? Because he made Adam in his own image and likeness. He made Adam in his own image and likeness. He gave him dominion over them, just like this man had dominion over the animals, but he ain't told them to beat it and do what they did and kill them. He didn't tell them to do that. And get what it says. He said, the wrath of Yahuwah shall not cease from you, even as it came to your fathers in the wilderness, who lusted for flesh. And we talked about it too. He said, let your table be made a snare and a trap. What was supposed to be for your good? And get what it says. And they ate to their content and were filled with rottenness, and the plagues consumed them. And I say to you, though you be gathered together in my bosom, if you keep not my commandments, I will cast you forth. For if you keep not the lesser mysteries, who shall give you the greater? He said, why would I give you more? You haven't kept the lesser. And if he's giving you the greater, and he said, you ain't still ain't kept the lesser, it's only for a snare. And it says, he that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in least is unjust also in much. If therefore you have been faithful in the mammon of unrighteousness, who will commit to you to trust true riches? And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Right, so we're going to chapter 28, same book. Chapter 28, same book. Chapter 28, same book. Chapter 28, same book. It's page 7, yeah. It says, verse 1 says, and it came to pass one day, Yahushua finished his discourse in the place near Tiberias, where there were 7 wells. Right? How many streams he gonna smite the river into? 7. He gonna smite it into 7 streams. And get what it says. A certain young man brought live rabbits and pigeons that he might have them to eat with his disciples. And Yahushua looked on the young man with his compassion and said to him, you have a good heart. He said, you have a good heart. Everybody got a good heart. He said, you have a good heart. But guess what? And Yahuwah shall give you light. Because he said, I've come that you might have. He said, my cast your burdens upon me. He said, all who are heavy laden, he said, I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn of me, for I'm meek and lowly, and you shall find rest for your souls. He said, for my burden is light. Just like it was in the beginning. He said, arise. And he said, arise, for the light has shined on you. He says, but Yahuwah shall give you light. But do you not know that Yahuwah, the Creator, in the beginning gave to man of the fruits of the earth for food? And did not make him lower than the ape, or the ox, or the horse, or the sheep, that he should kill and eat flesh and the blood of his fellow creatures? Indeed, the Pharisees believed Messiah commanded such creatures to be slain and offered in sacrifice and eaten, and so do you in your temple. But behold, I have come to light the way back to the law, the Torah, even the true law of Messiah, and to put away the blood sacrifices as in the beginning, even the sacrifice of grains and fruits of the earth, of that which you offer to Yahuwah. He says, of that which you offer to Yahuwah, in purity shall you eat. But that which you offer not in purity, you shall not eat. For the hour approaches when the sacrifices and feasts and the blood shall cease, and you shall worship in Kudash with a pure oblation. What is Kaphar for? To purify yourself, to afflict yourself, to chastise yourself. To chastise yourself, right? Same book, chapter 41. Truth of the Nazarenes, Gospel of the Nazarene, chapter 41. Chapter 41, verse 1. And Yahushua was going to Jericho, and he met there a man with a cage full of birds, which he caught, and some young doves. And he saw how they were in misery, having lost their liberty. He said they lost their freedom. And moreover, being tormented with hunger and thirst. He said they lost their freedom, and they ain't being fed properly. And get what it says. And he said unto the man, what will you do with these? And the man answered, I go to make my living by selling these birds which I have taken. And Yahushua said, well, what would you think if another stronger than you, or with a greater craft, were to catch you and bind you, or your wife, or your children, and cast you in a prison, in order to sell you into captivity for his own profit and to make a living? And the people saying, why Yahushua put us just like that and sold us off and put us and sold us away? He said, why? So why he do that to us? He says, are not your fellow creatures only weaker than you? And does not the same Creator care for us all? Let these your little brethren go before into freedom, and see that you do this no more, but provide honesty for a living. And the man marveled at these words, at his authority, and he let the birds go free. He did what? Let the birds fly. Let the birds fly. They can't fly in no cage. Off oof. And then what he said. So when the birds came forth, they flew to Yahushua and stood on his shoulder and sang to him. Of course, let the birds fly. Because they can sing. Let the birds fly. Because they're birds singing. If you wake up in the morning before the sun rises, you'll hear them singing. And guess what it says? Who do you think they're singing to? To you? And the man inquired further of his doctrine, and he went his way and learned the crafts and making baskets, and by the crafts he earned his bread. And afterwards he broke his cages and traps and became a disciple. Right? All that took place, right? For a reason. Right? You're going to Psalms, the book of Psalms. Yeah, the book of Psalms. Going to the book of, this is Ecclesiastes, Qahalath, Ecclesiastes chapter 4 or chapter 11 verse 2. Chapter 11 verse 2. Actually go over to 11 verse 1. It says, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. He said, cast it out. He said, you're going to find it many days. And guess what happens? Give a portion to 7. Give a portion to 7. How many feasts we got? 7 muads. What month we in? The 7th month. How many celestial circles? 7. He said, give a portion to 7. Or even to 8. What happens at 8? What feast you think he's talking about? Right? For you do not know what disaster may happen on the earth. What do you think happened right now? You don't know what's going to happen. And get what it says. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. People saying it's raining, it's flooding, because the clouds are full. It's their job to empty themselves, because they full. And if a tree falls to the south or the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. So if the tree falling, if your trees fall around you, that's where the tree gonna stay at. It's gonna stay right there. Say, he who observes the wind will not sow. He said, you looking at all the wind blowing? He said, man, you ain't never gonna sow no seed. When you gonna sow some seed? When you gonna feed? When you gonna do what you're supposed to do? And he who regards the clouds will not reap. He said, by the time you finish looking at the wind and the clouds and the waves rolling, and the trees falling, and the rain coming down, and the thunderstorm, and the tempest, and the hurricane, he said, by the time that you finish doing that, man, the day gonna be gone. He said the day is far spent. Let us cast out the works of darkness and put on the armor of light. It says, and get what it says, as you do not know the way of the Ruach comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the works of Elohim who makes everything. So get what he said, verse 6, in the morning, sow your seed. Why do you think Adam did it in the morning? Why do you think Abigail rose in the morning? Why do you think of all these things? He said, sow your seed. She sowed the seed. He said, sow your seed in the morning. And guess what he says? And at evening, withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper. This is that, or whatever, both alike good. You get what it says? Light is sweet, and it is pleasant for those who have eyes to see the sun. He said, it is pleasant to those who have eyes to see the sun. The birds can see the sun. The donkey can see the sun. But for some reason, he said, can you see the sun now? He said, are you busy looking at the wind and the wave and the trees falling? You're busy looking at the things that are happening and the disasters. He said, can you see the sun? Right? He said, can you see the sun? This is the book of Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4. Daniel chapter 4, verse 1. Daniel chapter 4. Let's go to verse 19. Daniel chapter 4, verse 19. Daniel chapter 4, verse 19. Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, he said, was dismayed for a while, and his thoughts alarmed him. And the king answered and said to Belteshazzar, let not the dream of the interpretation alarm you. Belteshazzar answered and said, my master, may the dream be for those who hate you, and its interpretation for your enemies. The tree you saw, the tree you saw which grew and became strong, so that its top reached the Shamayim, and it was visible to the end of the whole earth, whose leaves were beautiful, and its fruit abundant, and which was food for all, under which the beasts of the field found shade. Who he put in authority to be? Oh, he put it on Adam over all the beasts of the field, and over the Shamayim, over the birds, and over the creeping thing. And in whose branches the birds of the Shamayim live, he put Adam over these things. It is you. Have you realized that? It is you. Why do you think Yahushua was releasing the birds? Why do you think he was withstanding the people and beating the horses? Why do you think he was withstanding, came out and withstood Balaam? Why do you think he was concerned about these things? Why do you think he opened the mouth, the innocent animals' mouths? He said, it is you, O king, who have grown and become strong. He talking about you. He said, you grown. He said, I've grown up. When I was a child, I spake like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became mature, I put away childish things. But then guess what happens? Your greatness is grown and reached the Shamayim. Then he made Abraham great. He said, man, it don't reach the Shamayim. He said, look at Abraham, a friend of Yahuwah. And get what happened? And your dominion to the ends of the earth. And because the king saw a watcher, a Kadosh one, coming down from Shamayim and saying, he saw what? He saw a Malak, just like Balaam saw him. just like Balaam saw. He saw a Malak, Kudash one coming down from Shamayim saying, chop down the tree and destroy it. So who destroyed the tree? He said, chop down the tree and destroy it, but leave the stump of its root in the earth, bound with a band of iron and bronze. And it says, in the tender grass of the field, and let him be wet with the dew of Shamayim, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field. Why? Because you were great, but you done lost sight of who you are. You done lost sight of what I put you over. For some reason, you forgot. So therefore, I gotta cut your tree down and cast you down. What do you think? What do you think Anah is for? Afflicted, to be bowed down to Kaphar. I have to humble you down because you made yourself great. He says, so I gotta humble you down. And he says, and get what he says. And he said right here, and let him be wet with the dew of Shamayim, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till what? Till 7 periods of time pass over him. How many months just passed by? 7 months. 7 celestial circles. 7 muads. 7 periods of time. And guess what happens? It has to pass over him. And guess what happened? After the 7 periods of time pass over. This is the interpretation, O king. It is the creed of the Most High Yahuwah, which has come upon my master the king, that you shall be driven from among men. What happened to Adam after the fall? Everybody stopped, all the animals stopped communicating with each other. Nobody spoke into one language anymore. And Adam was driven out from the Garden of Eden, and he gave a sacrifice in the morning. Let's see what happened. And it says, you shall be made to eat grass like an ox. He said, I'm going to put you right back in that field, because I know you forgot. You done got way up there, and now I'm going to put you right back out there and humble you down in that field. You shall be made to eat grass like an ox, and you shall wet with the dew of Shamayim. I'm going to put you lower than the animal. Why? So I can allow you to see what it's like to serve again. Why do you think Yahushua was serving all the animals? And guess what it says? And guess what it says? And you shall wet with the dew of Shamayim, and 7 periods of time shall pass over you, till you know that the Most High rules in the Malkuth of men and gives it to whomever he will. Who he gave it to? He gave it to Adam in the beginning. And as it is commanded to leave the stump of the roots of the tree, your kingdom shall be confirmed for you for the time that you know the heavens rule. That heaven rules, Shamayim rules. You know he rules. Do you realize that? Therefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable to you. Break off your sins, Break off your sins. How you going to do that? Kaphar, atonement. Break off your sins. It's going to cover you to purge you. He said, break off your sins and do what? And by practicing righteousness. It'll be our righteousness if we keep his commandments. For the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light, and correction and reproof is a way of life. The 7 periods of time by keeping righteousness. He said that's how you're going to get your sins, to break off your sins. You ain't going to break off your sins any other way. If you're king, you ain't greater than Nebuchadnezzar. You ain't got the king. You ain't Babylon. He said most people never even been that high. And then they say, oh, I ain't got to do righteousness to purge out my sins, both male and female. That's a lie. You're lying to yourself. That's the only thing you got to do. And get what he says. And your iniquities by showing mercy to the oppressed. He said about practicing righteousness and showing mercy to those who are oppressed. It says that they may perhaps be a lengthening of your prosperity. He said, make sure you give to them too. You rich man. Verse 28 says, and this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar at the end of 12 months. He was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, and King Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, is not this kingdom Babylon which I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence for the abode of my majesty? While the words were still in the king's mouth, and then after he heard the word, he blessed himself in his heart. He baraked himself in his heart. He said, look at this. Look at all I did. That's what people do. After they hear to the bar, they start rocking themselves in their heart, like, I ain't got to do that. And guess what happened? It says, and it says, while the words were still in the king's mouth, he was talking. There fell a voice from Shamayim, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you, and you shall be driven from among men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. And that's what happened. So why he put Adam on here? He said, it's a bone. In pain you shall till the ground, and in sweat. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. And get what it says, and ye shall be made to eat grass like an ox. That's what he commanded the beasts of the field to eat in the beginning. He said, I'm going to remind you. You remember that thing I said in the beginning? It ain't changed. And the 7 periods of time shall pass over you. He said, I'm going to make you eat like an ox, just like I did in the beginning. I told the animals that's going to be your food. Until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whoever you will. So he's going to make these 7 times pass over you. You're going to go through these 7 periods of times over and over again until you realize that, until you confess it. Both male and female, until you say it out of your mouth. Immediately the word was fulfilled against Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from among men, and he ate grass like an ox, and his body was wet like the dew of Shamayim, till his hair grew as long as the eagle's. Well, he grew some feathers. What you think gonna happen after you grow some feathers? We don't humbling ourselves. What are we humbling ourselves for? To be bowed down, to be brought low. What do you think Nebuchadnezzar being brought low to do what? He can grow his feathers wings back. That's what we're humbling ourselves for, to purging out. We're purging ourselves from ourselves. And he grew long as eagle feathers, and his nails were like bird's claws. Huh? What type of bird is this? An eagle, a Narash. And guess what? And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up my eyes at Shamayim, and my reason returned to me. So after these 7 mu'ahs, these 7 cars and mu'ahs, he said, your reason within yourself, it should return back to you. It came back, and guess what happened? And I Barak the Most High Yahuwah, and praised and honored him who lived forever. Nebuchadnezzar did it. And the people say, I ain't got to do that. How are you going to get in Yahuwah's back in Yahuwah's sight again? In his mercy, he said, I got to do that. Nebuchadnezzar, I ain't never been like Nebuchadnezzar, but I have to do what he did. And Yahuwah spoke the word, and it happened to him. So when these things happen, what do you think he's trying to do? I'm trying to get your reasons to return back to your mind. But guess what? If you don't have anything, your own anything, or if you don't not in care of somebody, things that are not your own, why would Yahuwah commit to you something, true riches? Why would he give it to you? He said, I will never do that. He says right here, at the end of days, I Nebuchadnezzar lifted up my eyes to Shamayim, and my reason returned to me, my mindset. And I Barak Yahuwah the Most High, and praise and honor him who lives forever, for his dominion is everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endureth from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing. He said everybody just nothing. And he does according to his will among the hosts of Shamayim and among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand or say to him, what have you done? What you gonna do? You will tear down everything around you and you be like, what you did? You can't say that. And guess what verse 36 says? At the same time, my reason returned to me, and for the kabod of my kingdom, my majesty and splendor returned to me. My counselors and my masters sought me, and I was established in my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. So he added more. When he did all of that, he was great, and then he humbled him down. He confessed who Yahuwah was. He practiced righteousness, walked in the 7 periods. He baraked Yahuwah, and then Yahuwah added more greatness to his name and more greatness to him. Why do you think Abraham was great? People say, I'm male and female Adam. How you want to be great? And it says right here, my counselors and my master sought me, and I was established in my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the king of Shamayim. For all his works are right, and his ways are just, and those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. Enough. Kaphar. He'll be able to humble you. Because that's what he's here for. right? That's what he's here for. Right, this is Jeremiah chapter 40, verse 31. Jeremiah chapter 40, verse 31. Jeremiah chapter 40. Jeremiah chapter 40, verse 30. I think it's 30. Actually, Yeshayahu chapter 40. Yeshayahu chapter 40, verse 31. Yeshayahu chapter 40, verse 31. Let's go to verse 30. 40, verse 30. And even the youth faint and be weary, and the young men shall fall exhausted. But they that wait only for Yahuwah shall renew their strength. Why do you think he had to wait 7 periods of time? And he had to eat grass like an ox. Amazingly, he had to change his diet. He had to do it for he had to eat plants like an ox, and the green herbs like an ox for a whole 7 periods, for a whole year. And then after a whole year of doing that, his reason returned to him. His consciousness and his thought process came back to him. It said, but they that wait on Yahuwah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Why do you think he grew eagle's claws and eagle's feathers? And get what it says. And they shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. Which means if they don't grow weary or faint, which means they become greater and greater and greater and greater and greater and greater. They don't get tired. When they say they're going to work the work last day, they don't get tired. They don't get tired, right? This is Job chapter 12. Job chapter 12. And if they do get tired, he said Yahuwah will strengthen them. Because he's only doing this Kaphar, the weakened one, right? This is Job chapter 12, verse 1. Job chapter 12, chapter 12, verse 1. And it says, then Ehud answered and said, no doubt you are of the people, and wisdom will die with you, but I have understanding as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Why do you think Shaul said, are they a Hebrew? I'm a Hebrew too. I'll believe too. Are they Yehudi? I'm a Yehudi too. I'm all that. Get what he said. I am neither inferior to you. Who does know such things as these? I am a laughingstock to my friends, and I who called to Elohim, and he answered me, a just and blameless man, am a laughingstock. It says, in the thought of one who is at ease, there is contempt in a misfortune. Verse 7, go back to verse 8. But ask the beast, and they will teach you. And the birds of the Shamains, and they will tell you. He said, what do you mean they're going to teach me? Are they going to be talking? They're going to be talking to me? And get what he said. Or the bush of the earth, and they will teach you. Or the beasts of the earth, and they will teach you. And the fish of the sea, and they will declare to you. They put bush in, but it's not the beast. It says, and the fish of the sea, and they will declare to you. Who among these does not know that the hand of Yahuwah has done this? See, people saying, they understand it. Even after a storm, the birds be chirping. They understand it. The squirrels still eating. He's like, Yahuwah did this. He said, they know Yahuwah has done this. And guess what? When Nebuchadnezzar humbled himself and became to eat like an ox, and then he had the eagle's claws, he reasoned like an animal. And guess what he said? Yahuwah has done this. He said, he realized Yahuwah is King of Shamaim. And guess what he had to realize? He had to become like an animal to realize that. He had to become even lower than a human being. He had to become lower than a human being. Right, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 13. Book of Kazum, Revelation, chapter 12, verse 13. Revelation, chapter 12, verse 13. It says, and when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to the earth, he pursued the woman who had been giving birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, so that she might fly from the serpent into the wilderness. He said, why? He said, when you lose all your tribal ways and you lose all your tribal understanding, you lose all your wilderness understanding, then you'll lose this. To the place where she is to be nourished for a times and a half a time, just like an eagle nourishes her young. Just like an eagle nourishes her young. Why do you think Yahuwah always compared himself to a narash, an eagle? Just like an eagle nurses her young. And the serpent poured water like a river out of his mouth after the woman, and to sweep her away in a flood. Why do you think he said sweep her away with a flood? He said, you see a flood around, you be like, why he send a flood around? Why he got trees falling? Why he say, oh, eagle's wings? He said, yeah, I got eagle's wings on you. That you may ride upon the wings of the wind, and I may feed you with your akla, your food. He said, why he doing that? And it says right here, the serpent poured out water like an eagle, and he called a flood. But the earth came and helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river, and the dragon had poured out from his mouth. Then the dragon became furious, and the woman and went off to make war with the rest of the offspring on those who keep the commandments of Yahuwah and hold the testimony of Yahusha, and he stood on the sand of the sea. You think about when Yirmiyahu went to offer his son, and Satan got in the way. He put a flood river, right in the middle of his way, in the book of Yashar. And Abraham said, what? Man, that's Satan. Isaac said, Father, you don't see the river? That's Satan. And people be wondering why he said that. Because their reason had returned to them. They were able to discern between good and evil. They were able to discern. This is Revelations chapter 9, 9 and 1. Hazun, Revelation chapter 9, verse 1. Revelation chapter 9, Hazun chapter 9, verse 1. It says, in the fifth Malachi blew his teruah, and I saw the star from Shamaim fall to the earth, and it was given to the key to the bottomless pit. So we just passed the fifth feast, teruah. We just passed that. That was the fifth feast. Right, let's go to verse 13. Then the sixth Malachi blew his teruah, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar before Yahuwah. Where you heard that at? We just talked about a Karen Yasha, a horn being raised, of salvation being raised for the house of David. And he says what? And I saw the voice from the four horns of the golden altar before Yahuwah saying to the sixth Malachi who had the teruah to release the four Malachi who are bound in the great river Euphrates. Wait. He said it's on the four horns, the four Karen. Right? He said the four horns. He said the four horns. Right, so go to Exodus chapter 27, verse 1. Exodus 27, 1. Exodus 27 and 1. And it says, you shall make an altar of acai wood 5 cubits long and 5 cubits broad. And after And it says, an altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. And you shall make horns, or karen, for it on its 4 corners, and its horns shall be of one piece with it. And you shall overlay it with bronze, and you shall make posts for it to receive its ashes, and shovels and basins and forks and firing pins, and you shall make all its utensils of bronze. And then people like read Book of Revelations, he's talking about the law, the Torah. This is a commandment. Because he raised up a horn of salvation, a karen, for the house of David. And these 4 elephant tusks, or horns, or ox tusks, need to be at the 4 corners of the altar. And this is for an offering. Going back to Revelation chapter 9, verse 13. 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 He said, then the sixth Malachite blew his teruah, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar before Yahuwah. What do them four horns represent? And it says right here, saying to the sixth Malachite who had the teruah, the shofar, release the four Malachim who are bound in the river Euphrates. So the four Malachim who had been prepared for the hour, the day, and a month, and a year were released. And people say, why you got to Kaphar? Because this is for you to humble yourself. This is 6 feasts. He said you got to humble yourself. You got to annoy yourself. You got to afflict yourself. You have to bring yourself in subjection. Because guess what's getting ready? It may happen, it may not happen this time. But at the same time, all these things are happening for a reason. And it says, to kill a third of mankind. People say, why I need to Kaphar? Why I gotta kill out what's earthly in me? Why I gotta fast? Why I gotta afflict myself? Why I gotta chastise myself? Right, going to Revelation chapter 20, 11 verse 1. Revelation chapter 11, I think it's cousin, we was there. Revelation chapter, going back to 11 and 1. Yeah, Revelations 11 and 1. Then I was given a measuring rod, like a staff, and I was told, rise and measure the temple of Yahuwah and the altar, and those who worship there. Who are these people? Who worship at the altar in these tent meetings? Yasharal and Yehuda. He has not dealt so with any other people. Who are the people who did that? It says, but do not measure the court outside the temple. Leave that out, for it is given over to the nations, and they will trample the Qahalath city for 42 months. And I will grant authority to my 2 witnesses who will nabba 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. Hey, what? Clothed in sackcloth? They're going to be humble themselves. And get what it says. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands. Oh, you mean the 2 menorahs? That shall stand before Yahuwah of the earth. The 2 menorahs. And guess what happened? And if anyone who harmed them, fire pours out of their mouth and consumes their foes, right? So this is the book, think about that, right? So this is the book of, we almost finished. This is the book of Revelations. This is the book of Revelations. Book of Chazun. Book of Revelations, chapter 8, verse 12. Revelation chapter 8, verse 12. It says, and the 4th Malachite blew his teruah, and a third of the sun was struck, and a third of the moon, and a third of the stars. Who did the sun and moon and the stars represent? And guess what happened? So that the third of their light might be darkened. That's the only reason they're doing it. Why do you think they're striking us down? Why do you think your mother and your father, your 11 sons, shall bow down and worship you? Why do you think they come after the people of the cosmos, of the stars? Why do you think he come after the 4th day of creation? Why do you think they try to stop the stars from shining? Just like Jeremiah said, they got to stop the stars from shining. They're trying to stop the sun from shining. Why do you think they try to stop the fathers from shining? It says, and the third of the moon and the third of the stars, so that the third of their light might be darkened. That's the only reason, because we're the light of the world. And the third of the day might be kept from shining. That's the only reason. They trying to cut the day in half. Like, I must work while it's day. There are 12 hours in the day. It only shine for 4 hours now. 6 hours. If you cut all of them off, they only be out for 6 hours. They can't stay out there all day. And likewise, a third of the night. Because get rid of all the yards, all the mothers, and guess what happened? Ain't no more. Guess what? The stars, the children are going to run astray. It says, and then I looked, and then what? And I heard an eagle. Who opened the mouth of the eagle? He heard a what? he heard an eagle. And what did the eagle say? Crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead. So he saw the eagle, and he heard the eagle open his mouth, just like it was in the beginning. And what did he say? Woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth, at the blast of the other trumpets, Turah, that the 3 Malachim are about to blow. He said, woe to you. He said, why you who? He said, they that way on you who mount up with wings like eagles. He said, you're going to grow your eagle's claws back. Let the birds fly. Your zitzits. Off oof. Oh, and guess what happened? He said, who are about to blow. Right? So we looked at all that for a reason. Right? This is the book of Yochanan. John chapter 19. John chapter 19. John chapter 19, verse 17. It says, and he went out bearing his own cross to the place called the place of skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on either side, and Yahushua between them. Why do you think Nebuchadnezzar needed 2 people? Why do you think he had to be humbled down? And get what it says. It says, and Pilate also wrote the inscription and put on the cross. It read, Yahushua, the Malach of the Yahudim. When Nebuchadnezzar a king? He was a king. And many of the Yahudim read the inscription, for the place where Yahushua was crucified was near the city. It was close by. And it was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. So the chief priests and the Yahudim said to Pilate, do not write the king of the Yahudim, but rather this man said, I am the Malach of the Yahudim. And Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. Isn't that written in your Torah? Said you're Elohim? If you called you an Elohim, when the word of Yahuwah came out, you can't change the Torah. And get what it says. When the soldiers had crucified Yahushua, they took off his garments and divided them into 4 parts. Into what? Into 4 parts. Make 4 kalin horns at the altar, around the altar in the 4 squares. He put them in 4 parts. Make the zitzits at the 4 corners of your garments. He said that you may be able to fly, that you may produce and blossom. Matter of fact, he put it at the 4 parts, 1 for each soldier. So how many soldiers are there? How many soldiers? 4 soldiers. 4 soldiers. He said, why he said release the 4 Malachim down in the river Euphrates? People saying, why he said that? What do you think them people? What do you think them beings are? You think they think some cowards? Them beings are soldiers. They soldiers. And it says, guess what it says? For each soldier, also his tunic. But the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom, so they said one to another, let us not tear it, but cast lots to see whose it shall be. This was fulfilled in Scripture. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. When they brought the actual garments of Yahushua to his father, what did they do? They tore his garments. They tore Yahushua's garments. And get what it says. So the soldiers did these things, but standing across of Yahushua were his mother and his mother's sister, and Mary and Cleophas, right? Going to verse 28. And after this, Yahushua, knowing that all was finished, said to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar of sour wine stood there. So they put a sponge full of sour wine and hyssop in a branch and held it to his mouth. Then Yahushua had received the sour wine and said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave it the Ruach. Verse 31 says, since it was a day of preparation so that the bodies would not remain on the cross on the Shabbat, because it was a high day, the Yahudim asked Pilate that the legs might be broken, and be taken away. So the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other, and other who had been crucified with him. But when they came to Yahushua, they saw that he was dead already, and did not break his legs. Why do you think he said the ball turned into a stone? He said he died within himself. Nabal was already dead within himself before the 10th day. He was already dead. Already. He was already dead. Already. And it says right here, and the other who was crucified with him, but they came to Yahusha, they saw that he was dead already, they knocked his legs. But one of the soldiers pierced him in his side, his spear, and at once came out blood and water. And what's going to happen after that? And he saw him and bore witness, his testimony is true. And he knows he is telling the truth, that you also may believe. For these things took place that the scripture might be fulfilled. Now one of his bones will be broken. Why would he do that? Because the two shall become one. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And he said, you're not going to break this covenant. And again, another scripture says, they will look on him whom they have pierced. Verse 38. And after these, Yusuf of Arimathea was the disciple of Yahusha, but secretly for fear of the Yahudim, asked Pilate that he might take away the body of Yahusha, and gave him permission. So he came and took away his body. In order to take away his body, Yahusha was above the people. He took him down from the cross. He humbled him down, and he made him eat grass like an ox. And by bringing him down like eat grass like an ox, he did some things. And guess what happened? Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Yahusha by night and came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes and 75 pounds in weight. So they took the body of Yahusha and bound it in linen cloths with the spices and burial accustomed to Yahudim. What did Adam do in the beginning? After he got cast out of the garden, he brought all the spices and he made an offering to Yahuwah at the dawn. He did it at the dawn. And guess what happens? So that Yahusha and bound him in the linen cloth and the spices and the burial custom of Yahudim. Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden. What did Adam do? And in the garden, a new tomb which no one had been yet laid. So Yahusha, because of the Yahudim day of preparation, since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Yahusha there. Right? Verse 20:1, chapter 20:1. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark, as the sun was getting ready to dawn. What time did Yahusha come to the altar? When he blew it to Turah. What time did Abigail sound the blast to Nabal? What time did Adam offer the sacrifice with spices? And guess what happened? And saw the stone that had been taken away from the tomb. And she ran and went to Simon and Kaphar and the other disciples, and one whom Yahusha loved, and said to him, they have taken my Aydah out of the tomb. Right? Going to Luke 24:25, Luke 24:1. Or y'all 24:1. And it says, but on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb, taking the spices they had prepared. And they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. When Adam offered the sacrifices? With the spices when he would cast out the garden. So what do you think this is for? To bring Adam back to the garden. Why do you think he made Nebuchadnezzar eat grass like an ox? Why do you think they took Yahusha down from the cross? Because remember, his tree was way up his tree was up, and all the birds gathered under him, and everything gathered under Nebuchadnezzar's tree. When all the people in Matthew chapter 10, they were all under him, saying, if you be the king of Yehuda, come down from the cross. If you be the Malach Yasharal, come down from the cross. Come down from your high estate, Nebuchadnezzar. But all the birds and all the beasts were gathered and lodged up under his shade. And eventually he did come down from the cross. When Yusuf took him down from the cross. And he ate grass like an ox. And what happened after that? And at early dawn, taking the spices they prepared, and they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. Remember what happened after the 7 periods of time for Nebuchadnezzar? After the 7 celestial circles went by? What happened after that? Amazingly, this is after a Shabbat. This whole time, this is after a Shabbat. And what did he do after the 7 periods of time? And guess what happened? And he rolled away the stone, but when they went in, they did not find the body of Yahushua Mashiach. While they were perplexed about this, behold, 2 men stood by them in dazzling apparel. And as they were frightened and bowed their faces to the ground, they did what? They humbled themselves anon, to be bowed down. They afflicted themselves. The same way Kaphar. They Kaphar. And guess what they did? They frightened their faces to the ground. The men said to them, why do you seek the living among the dead? Why are you in the graveyard? You know you ain't supposed to be here. Seeking out no dead body. He is not there, but he has risen. He grew eagle's feathers. He grew his eagle claws back. And after the 7th day, after the 7 periods of time, he said, Yahuwah rules in the Malkuth of Shamayim, and he gave it to whomever he would. His reason returned inside of him. Has it returned inside of you? And he got what he said. And he said to him, why you seek the living among the dead? But he is not here, he is risen. Remember how he told you while he was still in Galilee, that the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and on the 3rd day rise. He mean after the 7 periods of time, he gonna rise. He gonna grow his eagle feathers back. After the 7th day. Because it was a Shabbat when he was actually, after they dawning toward the 1st day, it was after Shabbat when they came to that tomb. Right. So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 28. We almost finished. We got a little bit more. Matthew, chapter 28. Matthew, chapter 28, verse 17. It said, when they saw him, they worshipped him. Actually, go to verse 16. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain which Yahushua had directed them. So while he went down low, amazingly, he went down low. He was in the ground for 3 days and 3 nights. And then he grew eagle feathers back and his claws. And then he told them to go meet me on the mountain. Where do you see eagles at? He said, come meet the eagle on the mountain. Because the eagle done rose. He done grew his eagle's feathers back in his claws. And guess what he said? And has directed them. He directed them. Didn't Nebuchadnezzar call his servants after he got up? And they inquired where he was. And it says, and when they saw him, they worshipped him. And guess what happened? And some doubted. And then some people still doubt today. He said, some still doubt. And you know who the artificer of error and doubt? Satan himself. He said, that's why one has to announce that your reason may return back to you. And Yahushua came and said to them, all authority in Shamayim and earth has been given to me. Yahuwah gives the kingdom to whomever he will. Yahuwah rules in the Malkuth of men. He gave all authority to Yahushua Mashiach. Who are you, humans? And get what he says. But some doubted. And he said, Yahushua said, all authority is given to me in Shamayim and earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. He said, let the birds fly and let them multiply. Let all of the children come to me. Let all the children come to me. Immersing them. And guess what it said? Verse 20 says, teaching them to observe all that I commanded you. What do you mean teaching them to command? It would be our righteousness if we keep his commandments. That's what Nebuchadnezzar had to do. That he may he said, purge all his sin out. Even Nebuchadnezzar, king, who would call himself the king of kings, had to humble himself down and say, you know what? I am the king of kings. And Yahuwah increased him and made him after he did that. And get what he said? Teaching them and observe all that I commanded you, and behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. We just read some of the other things Yahuwah commanded. And people saying, why he telling me, I come to restore you back to the beginning. He said, I come to restore you back to the beginning. This is the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 58. Isaiah chapter 58. Isaiah chapter 58. Isaiah chapter 58, verse 10. Actually, Isaiah chapter 58, verse 6. Is this not a fast that I chose? To loosen the bonds of wickedness? That's what Anah is. To undo the straps of your yoke? To let the oppressed go free? To break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry? Cast your bread upon the waters and you'll find it in due time. And bring the homeless into your house? When you see the naked, to cover him? And to hide yourself from your own flesh? Then your light will break forth like the dawn. Huh? Why do you think the women rose early in the morning to bring the sepulchre to clothe Yahushua Mashiach and to make sure he was prepared properly? And your healing shall spring up speedily. He said, your light gonna break forth like the dawn. You're gonna be shining just like the sun. And get what it says? Your righteousness shall go before you. What do you think righteousness that went before Nebuchadnezzar to get him healed? It'll be our righteousness if we keep his commandments. That's what got him healed. It goes before you. What do you think is going before us before judgment? The righteousness that we do, the practices that we do, the customs that we do, the way we treat each other, the way we act, conduct, speak, talk, the way we live. It all goes before us before we die. Your righteousness go before you. The kabod of Yahuwah shall be your rear guard. Righteousness in front, Yahuwah in the back. Everybody who talk and run their mouth while you going forward in righteousness, guess what? Yahuwah said, I got them. You keep going forward. Don't pay them no attention. No matter how much profanity, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, you keep going forward. I got your back. Keep going forward in righteousness. But you know what people do? Like Nabal, like Eve's wife, they keep looking back. They don't believe. Like some doubt it. Just like they did when Yahushua rose. Some doubt it, but he said, I got your back. And get what it says. And it says, and the kabod of Yahuwah shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and Yahuwah will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, here I am. He said, here I am. Why do you think Yahuwah opened the mouth of the wolf to let Yaakov know to comfort him? Because Yaakov was crying out. And get what he said. If you take away the yoke from your midst, and the pointing of the finger, and speaking wickedness, if you pour yourself out for the hungry, and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then your light rise in darkness, and your gloom will be as a noonday. You'll be just like the sun. You'll be just like Yahushua Mashiach. If you let the birds go free. If you let the birds go free. And get what it says. It says, and Yahuwah will guide you continually, and satisfy your desire in scorched places. It'll be dry, scorched, destroyed, destruction. Yahuwah said, I'm going to satisfy you with bread. Cast your bread upon the waters. You'll find it in due time. You don't know what disaster is going to come either. He said, but don't worry about it. I got you. And guess what it says? Guess what it says? Guess what it says? He says, and make your bones strong. He going to make your bones strong. Trust Yahuwah. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make sure your path. He'll be healing your shore and refreshment to your bones. Proverbs chapter 3. And get what it says. Like springs, it says, and you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail. And your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt, and you shall raise up the foundations of many generations. And you shall be called the repairer of the breach, and the restorer of the streets to dwell. You'll be repairer of the breach. You'll be repairer of the stars, the Shemesh Kubu in the yard. You'll be repairer of this other breach. And it says, and if you turn back your foot from my Shabbat, from doing your own pleasure on my Kudash day, and call the Shabbat a delight, and my Kudash day an honorable, if you honor it, not doing your own ways, not seeking your own pleasure, or talking idly, then you shall take delight in Yahuwah, and he will make you ride upon the heights of the earth, and I will feed you with the heritage of your code. The heritage of your code. This ain't the customs of these other people. This has always been the customs of the 12 tribes. That's why he had an altar with horns on it in the four corners in the book of Revelation. It's always been for your code. It says, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken. He said, why he feeding us without food? Because he had the eagle's wings while Satan sending floods and all types of stuff. Guess what? He said, I'm going to feed you with your food, your akla, that you may ride upon the wings of the wind. And the people going to be like, what you talking about? He said, I'm flying. There's a flood coming. I see it. They that wait on Yahuwah shall renew their strength. They shall mount with wings like eagles. He said, where the tree fall, that's where it fell. Exactly. When Yahushua was taken down from the cross, where the tree fell, that's where it fell. Because that's a tree that everybody lodged up under, like Nebuchadnezzar. It fell right there. That's what happened when Yahushua took him down from the cross. The tree fell right there. He said, for the mouth of Yahuwah has spoken. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32. Jeremiah, chapter 32. Actually, Yeshayahu, chapter 32. Yeshayahu, Isaiah, chapter 32. Yeshayahu, chapter 32. Yeshayahu, chapter 32, verse 1. It says, behold, a king will reign in righteousness, and the princes will rule in justice. Or Nasiah, each will be like a hiding place from the wind. From the storms, from the disasters, from the wind, and the shelter from the storms, from the wind, from the hurricanes. They're gonna be like a hiding place from the wind, from the hurricanes, like streams of water in a dry place, like shades of rock in a weary land. Then the eyes of those who see will not be closed. They're gonna stay awake. He said they're gonna stay awake. And the ears of those who will hear will give attention. And the heart of the hasty will understand and know. And the tongue of the stammerers will hasten to speak distinctly. The fools will no more be called noble, nor the scoundrels shall be honorable. Why do you think Nebuchadnezzar will cast to the ground? This is Kaphar. You're supposed to annul. You humble yourself. You bring yourself. You afflict. You afflict yourself, so that you can be the people in the first 3 verses I just read, and not the ones in this verse. For the fool speaks folly, and his heart is busy with iniquity, and practices unrighteousness. Why do you think he told Nebuchadnezzar to purge all your sin out by practicing righteousness in the 7 periods? It says to utter error concerning Yahuwah, and to leave the craving of the hungry unsatisfied, and to deprive the thirsty of drink. But this book of Yeshayahu, go to verse 9. It says, arise up, you women who are at ease. Hear my voice, you complacent daughters. Give ears to my speech. In a little more than a year, you shall shudder, you complacent women. Right? In a year, that's about 7 periods. That's about a whole feast year. For the grape harvest fails, and the fruit harvest will not come. Tremble, you women who are at ease. Shudder, you complacent ones. Strip and make yourself bare, and tie sackcloth around your waist. Kaphar, afflict yourself. Kaphar. Beat your breast into pleasant fields, and for the fruitful vines, for the soil of my people growing up with thorns and briars. You make an atonement for yourself and for the house, because they bring up thorns and briars. Thorns and thistles. When I was a child, I spake like a child. When I reasoned like a child. When Nebuchadnezzar got his reason back, he said he put away childish things. And it's childish to say, I rule over the Shamayims and Yahuwah himself. I'm smarter than, I'm intelligent than him. I'm more of a king he'll ever be. I'm more of a Malka he'll ever be. He said that's the wrong mindset. And get what he says? He said they bring up thorns and briars. Yes, for all the joyous houses in the exalted city. For the palace is forsaken, the populous city is deserted. The hill and the watchtower will become dens forever. The joy of the wild donkeys and pastures of flocks, until the Spirit is poured out upon us from on high. and the wilderness become a fruitful field, and the fruitful field deemed a forest. Then justice will dwell in the wilderness, in the way He's sending the bride in the wilderness to do, to be nourished for a time and times and a half a time. And righteousness shall abide in a fruitful field, and the effect of righteousness will be peace. And the result of righteousness, quietness, trust forever. You will trust, and you'll know that Yahuwah got your back. Keep going forward in righteousness. And when you cry to Him, He's going to hear you. My people will abide in peaceful habitations and secure dwellings and in quiet resting places. They're going to be in Shabbats. And it will be hell when the forest falls down, and the city will be utterly laid low. Happy or Simcha are you who sow beside all waters. Cast your bread upon the waters, you'll find it in due time. And let the feet of the ox and the donkey range free. He let them go free. Why do you think Yahushua, we read it in Nazarene, He was letting all the animals go free. Let the birds sing, let the birds fly. Let the animals go free. And let them roam. And guess what happens? He said everything will be at peace again. He said everything will be at peace. Right? This is Yeshayahu chapter 60, verse 1. Same books. 60, verse 1. 60, verse 1. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the kabod of Yahuwah has risen upon you. Arise, O complacent daughters. Arise, shine, for the light and the kabod of Yahuwah has risen upon you. Don't get mad at me because the sun is shining upon me. I am black. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples. But Yahuwah will arise upon you, and His kabod will be seen upon you. How? Anah, Kaphar, you fall in righteousness. Get what? I got your back. I got your back. This is Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 23. 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 And it says, but this people has a stubborn and rebellious heart. They have turned aside and gone away. They do not say in their hearts, let us fear Yahuwah our Elohim, who gives the rain in seasons and autumn rains and the spring rain to keeps for us the weeks appointed for harvest. How many weeks? How many periods? He said 7 periods. Your iniquities have turned these away, and your sins have kept good from you. For wicked men are found among my people. They lurk like fowlers lying in wait. He said they set a trap. They catch men like a cage full of birds. What happened when Yahushua had all the birds in the pit? He let the birds go free. He let the birds go free out of the cage. You can't keep them caged birds in there. Yahushua's like, man, let them birds go. How would you like somebody to cage you in? How would you like somebody to cage you in and you can't go nowhere? And cage your children in, your wife in, and cage them in. How would you like that? And you know people do that. I was part of it. He said, man, I was caged in. I didn't know what to. I said, why am I trapped here? And Yahushua like, it's time to let the bird go free. Let the birds fly. Let the eagle fly. Let the bird fly. And guess what? For their houses are full of deceit. Huh? Their houses are full of deceit. Say what? What we doing? You're fasting, you're kanafing for your own self and for the household. But he said, you are kafaring for not only for yourself, but for the household. Therefore, they have become great and rich. That's why their house full of deceit. They attract people. They get the money. They become rich. And guess what happened? They have grown fat and sleek. They know no bounds in deeds of evil. They judge not with justice. They cause the fatherless to make it prosper. They make fatherless children. They make everything that's wrong prosper. And what is Satan was trying to do? He was trying to destroy the sun, the moon, the star. He was trying to stop the star from shining. In the book of Qahalath. And they do not defend the rights of the needy. They don't defend the rights of the needy. Shall I punish them for these things, declares Yahuwah? Shall I not avenge myself on a nation such as this? An appalling and horrible thing has happened in the land. The prophets prophesied falsely, and the priests rule at their discretion. They do what they want. They say what they want, they do what they want, thinking that everything great. It ain't. But my people love to have it so, and that's why. And guess what? They trapped like caged birds. And who should like, I come to set you free. I come to make you free. But what will you do when the end comes? He said, what you gonna do when the end comes? Right, this is the Dead Sea Scrolls, column 4Q57. These are the paths in the world to enlighten the heart of man and woman. Straighten out in front of him all the paths of true justice, establish in his heart respect for the precepts of Yahuwah Elohim, in a ruach of meekness and patience and generous compassion. Just like you would a child. A child spills something on the ground, you pick it up and you kiss them all over the face and you say, you my baby. Or just like write something on the wall, you do something, you have so much patience with your child and you do all these things, and guess what? You live in harmony with a child, he just be driving you absolutely crazy. And you still are the most loving mother you can be. Generous compassion. You have so much generous compassion. Eternal goodness, intelligence. You can't be intelligence, understanding, potent wisdom, and the trust in all the deeds of Elohim. Isn't that what he told the careless daughters? He said they're going to be trust and peace. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. And then he got your rear guard, and you're going to walk in righteousness and go forward. And it says eternal goodness, intelligence. It says intelligence, understanding, potent wisdom, which trusts in all of these of Elohim and depends on his abundant mercy. A ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, of enthusiasm, decrees, of justice and set apart plans, and firm purpose and generous compassion with all the sons of truth, of magnificent purity. That's what we're doing. Anah. Magnificent purity. That's what we're creating. We're creating magnificent purity within ourselves, and therefore by magnificent purity, guess what happens? Kaphar. You're covered. Right? And that's why people say, well, I'm your covering. No. What you do when you're afflicting yourself and doing these things, that's your covering. What good is it having a carnal human being as your covering when you ain't even covering yourself with the blood of Yahushua and inflicting yourself and keeping yourself in self-control? What good is a covering? That ain't no covering. That's a temporary covering. He said you want the continual covering. And it says right here, which desires and detests all unclean idols, and of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything, of concealment concerning the truth and the mysteries of the knowledge of Yahuwah. These are the foundations of the ruach of the sons of truth, and all the reward of those who walk in it and trust in Yahuwah, God, his rear guard, will be healing. What happened to Nebuchadnezzar? Healing. His mind, his reason came back. Plentiful peace. Long life. That's what he said he's going to give to the daughters of the careless daughters. He said, will you turn back? Long life. Fruitful offspring. Everlasting barak. The stars are going to multiply. The birds are going to multiply. The animals, the sea creatures are going to multiply. And guess what's going to happen? And rewarded those, and guess what he said? Fruitful offspring, that's the beginning. Eternal enjoyment and endless life, a crown of kabod and majestic raiment and eternal light. Light, rise, shine, for the light has risen upon you. It's arisen upon you. However, the ruach of deceit belongs greed. And then we just read in Jeremiah, they got a caged men, a caged people in, man, male and female, and they don't have what? They don't let the people go. He said the birds are caged in. And guess what they caged in to do? For the ruach of deceit belongs greed. That's what's inside of that bird cage. Sluggishness, service in the path of injustice, wickedness, falsehood, pride, haughtiness of heart, dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts, performed in lustful passion, filthy passion in the service of impurity, blasphemous tongue, blindness of eyes, hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, hardness of heart, in order to walk in the path of darkness, and and evil cunning. All that's a part of not practicing righteousness in the 7 periods and continually. It says, and the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundant afflictions of the hands of the Malachim of destruction and eternal damnation and the scorching wrath of the Elohim that revenges. He's going to send the Malachim after you. And the people wondering why all these things happening. And he say, no, it's for a reason. And get what it says. For impotent terror and shame, without end, with humiliation and destruction, by the fire of the dark regions, and all the ages of their generations. They shall spend in bitter weeping and harsh evils in the abyss of the darkness, until destruction without there being a remnant or survivor for them. Right, this is the Nazarene Acts of the Apostles. Basura, good news, give power over demons. You see how it is important to acknowledge Yahuwah and the observance of divine obedience, which not only protects you from who believe from the assaults of demons, but also gives you command over those who rule over others. Right, you get command, you get able to cast them out. You're able to cast them out. You're able to speak to the bar, and guess what? It come out. And guess what happened? But also gives you command over those who rule over others, because they're going to try to rule over you, behaviors, practices. Why do you think Nebuchadnezzar had to eat grass like an ox for a year? It's just the practices, the habits. That's what it's for. And therefore, it is a necessity for you who are of the Goyim nations to take yourselves to Yahuwah and to keep yourself from all uncleanness. These are the things he told us to purge ourselves from, you should have died from. And get what it says. And to keep yourself from all uncleanness, and the demons will expel, and Yahuwah will dwell in you. And the same time, by prayers, commit yourselves to Yahuwah and call on his aid against the impudent demons, and whatsoever you ask, believing you will receive. You don't doubt. Yahuwah got your real guard. You're walking in righteousness. He said, when you cry unto me, I will hear you. And guess what it says? But even the demons themselves will portion that they see amunah, faith, belief, grow inside a man, woman, or child in proportion they depart from him. Residing only in the part where something infidelity still remains. That's bitterness, hatred, resentment, strife, complaining, resentment. That's complaining within oneself by being treated unfairly. Bitterness, right? Holding that wormwood within their heart. They're going to stay there. They're going to continually be there all the time. Right? It's going to continue being your bloodstream. It still remains inside. Hatred, jealousy, envy, profanity, all these are a part of it. He said all these are infidelity, not being kind to the poor, practicing deceit, laughing at things that are appalling as done in a lustful manner. All these are a part of the ways that be practices that one is annoying for. For those who believe with full amunah, that's your whole mind, they depart without any delay. For when a ruach comes to amunah, to Yahuwah, it obtains the virtue of the heavenly water, which extinguishes the demons like a spark of fire. It would be just like living water. He that believes on me, as the scripture said, out of his bellies will flow rivers of living water within oneself. Right? This is the essence of Yahushua, 7 folds of peace. Because that's what he said he's going to give to the daughters, the careless daughters. He said, when you arise and shine, for the light has shone upon you. It says, Barak is the child of light, who is wise in mind. He shall create the Shamayim. The mind of the wise is a well-plowed field, which giveth forth abundance and plenty. For if thou showest a handful of seeds to a wise man or woman, he will see in his mind the eyes filled with golden wheat. And if you show a handful of seeds to a fool, what happens? He will see only that which is before him, and call them worthless pebbles. And as the field of the wise man giveth forth grain in abundance, and the field of the fool is a harvest only of stones, so it is with our thoughts. Within our thoughts. Why do you think they call him the ball of fool? He died within him, and he turned like a stone. He said, your stony heart, right? It's like Ezekiel said, I'm going to give you a heart, take a heart of stone, and I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. Verse, that's why Yaakov was crying out. And it says right here, and as the sheaf of the golden wheat lies hidden within the tiny kernel, so it is with the Malkuth of Shamayim is hidden within our thoughts. When you believe with full amunah, they depart out of your mind without any delay. And you can keep the mu'ad without any type of delay. And if they be filled with the power of love, wisdom, and hukmah of the Malakim of Shamayim Father, they shall carry us to the Shamayim Sea. But if they be stained with corruption, hatred, and ignorance, because ignorance will make you keep it. He said, ignorance will make you keep it. He said, why I ain't bearing no fruit? Why I ain't singing no song? Why I ain't praising him? Why I ain't lifting my hands? Why I ain't screaming and shouting for Yahuwah himself? Why I can't do it in the presence of others? It's because you're ignorant. And he said, and you got hatred. And he said, corruption. And it says, they shall chain your feet with pillars and pain and suffering. You are like a caged bird. And he said, who got you there? He said, yourself. He said, you're like a caged bird. You put yourself in a cage. And you chain your own self to your bed. You chain your own self to your car. You chain your own self to the gate. You're like a dog at the gate. You chain yourself to it. And anybody come by, arr, arr, arr. He said, no, break the chains off. What a dog is more, when you let a dog run. You ever seen a shepherd dog? A shepherd dog, when you go get a video and look at a shepherd dog running in the pasture, and see how that dog, him tongue all out. When the animals are free, they joyful. But when an animal change their own mind to a chain, and he be like, man, you know you can go here, you can go there, you can go anywhere. He's like, now you chain yourself to that bit. You chain yourself. And get what it said. No man can serve two masters. Why do you think he said, let the birds fly? Yahuwah said, I made everybody free. I ain't never had nobody chained up. You can't serve two masters. Neither can an evil thought abide in the mind filled with the light of the Torah. It can't. Arise, shine, for the light has risen upon you. And the evil thought can abide in the mind filled with the light of the Torah. It says, he who have found shalom, peace in the mind, have learned to soar beyond the realm of the Malakim. Abraku kanaf hanat ruach. Let the birds fly. He said, they that wait on Yahuwah renew their strength. They should mount their wings like eagles. And they should go to a place prepared for them in the wilderness, and Yahuwah will feed them with their food while the disasters are and everything that's happening around. And get what it says. He had learned to soar beyond the realm of Malakim. Know this shalom with thy heart, with thy mind. Fulfill this peace with thy body. Because it's your body. Right? So this is ODE Shaloma 15, 1 through, we're going to do 1 through 6. Because he is my, it says, as the sun is the joy to them who is daybreak, so is my joy Yahuwah, because he is my son, and his rays has restored me, and his light has diminished all darkness from my face. Arise, shine, for the light has risen upon you. Don't get mad at me because I'm black and beautiful, and the sun has looked upon me. What you upset? Why are you upset with yourself? The sun has shined upon you. Eyes I have possessed in him and have seen his Kudash day. This is the Kudash day. This is, you see it. He say, why? This ain't a Kudash day. He say, it ain't Kudash. I'm like, it says, ears I have acquired and I have heard his truth. Isn't that what he gave Abraham? Abraham said he gave me an open ear. And then he spoke to him in Abri Lashon. And he said, man, this language ain't been spoken. Everybody ain't been speaking this language. Even the animals stopped talking. It says, ears I have acquired and I have heard his truth. The thoughts of the knowledge I have required and have lived fully through him. I abandoned the way of error and went toward him and received salvation from him generously. He's going to rain up a Koran, a horn of salvation. Right? According to his generosity, he gave me, and according to his majestic beauty, he made me. Don't get mad at me. Don't get upset at me. He said, I guess Yahuwah ain't make you in his image and likeness, like Adam. He did. He made you like that. Yahushua was showing us, and he's showing us through so many books, but at the same time, he said, I did that. I made you like that. You have a good heart. But let me shine some light on you. Right, this is the last thing. Aleph Yuchanan 2:24 through 29. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. Let the 6th day of creation abide in you. Let the 5th day, the 4th day, the 3rd day, the 2nd day, the 1st day abide in you. And what you heard from the beginning abides in you. You too will abide in the Ben, the Son, the life of the house, and the Father, the strength of the house. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. And I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you. They're trying to stop you from keeping righteousness and moving forward and trusting Yahuwah got your back. But the anointing you receive from him abides in you. You have no need that anyone should teach you. But his anointing teaches you about everything and is true. It is no lie. Just that it has taught you, abide in him. And now, little children, abide in him. So when he appears, you will have confidence. That's all this is about. It's about your confidence. Your confidence in Torah, your confidence in prayer, your confidence in writing, your confidence in song, your confidence in speaking, your confidence in sharing, your confidence. This is all about your confidence. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody. This is all about confidence. I'm confident that Yahuwah got my back. I'm confident that I'm going forward in righteousness. I'm confident that he's going to restore me in the 7 periods. I'm confident that he's going to allow me to bear fruit. I'm confident, and I'm not losing my confidence. If I am, then I don't really trust him, and guess what? I'm training myself. For what? Why are you training yourself? He said, let them go. Like you say, let them go. And now my children abide in him, and when he appears, you will have confidence and not shrink from him in shame at his coming. What do you mean shame? Everlasting shame, that's the spirit of deceit. You're not a caged bird. You're not a caged bird. We're not caged birds. We're not locked away. We don't have chains on our foot. He said, you purge yourself. And guess what? Let the chains go. And if you know that he is righteous, you know you righteous. And you be like, I don't know I'm righteous. Yes, you do. You practice righteousness. I don't know I'm righteous. You know you righteous. We know we righteous. You will be sure that everyone who practices righteousness, you know that Nebuchadnezzar, when Yahuwah said you're going to practice righteousness in the 7 periods, you know what's going to happen to him. You know what's going to happen to you. You see what happened to Abraham. You see what happened to the people of times past. He says, you know if you practice righteousness, you know everyone who practices righteousness has been born of him. Has been born of him. But I'm writing those to those who are trying to deceive you. Right? It's not people saying it's created in a certain way for people to understand it. And it's created in a certain way because it requires one to anah and kafar. It requires one to purge themselves. It requires one to chastise themselves and not hide their back from their own will. He said, why would I beat myself? Why would I allow things to happen? Why would I allow things to happen? Because it's going to change me. It's going to humble me down. It's going to bring me to that point. Like, no matter what's going on around me, righteousness is still king. And Yahuwah is my king. Yahusha is my king and God. And guess what? He got my back. Whether you're a male or female, if you're a careless daughter, you can arise. And if you're a careless male, you can arise. And for the Yahuwah's light has shined upon you. And this is the 6th feast. And it's now coming to an end. And now guess what you're headed to? In 3 more days. You're headed to the 7th feast. Kag Sukkah, which in turn brings in what? Your harvest. And guess what? During that time, you'll be able to see and understand even more. Because after the 7 periods is up, we look at ourselves as that person to lift our hands up. For we know that Yahuwah rules in the kingdom of men. He gave it to his son Yahusha. He gave all power and authority to him. And he put him right back in position that he put Adam over. At both male and female. And all those who immerse in Yahusha have put him on and have cast out the works of darkness and put on the armor of light. And they put on a breastplate of righteousness and a helmet of salvation. And you got to put it on yourself every single day. And you got to walk just like that. And you got to walk and allow the sun to beam on your armor and on your helmet and allow the rays to shine that Satan depart from you every single day. And don't ever leave, don't ever walk, and don't ever awake without your armor on. Don't ever do that. And you'll find yourself walking even as he walked. Right? So we look at it, we look at his days that are coming. We look at the seventh day. We look at the seven feasts. We look at Yahushua Mashiach, and we look at a lot of life. Even though Yahuwah sent his Malachite to send hurricanes and storms and floods and hurricanes and trees falling and all these things around, we know that Yahuwah Elohim has a purpose. And his purpose is humility, humbleness. His purpose is affliction. His purpose is Kaphar. His purpose is Sukkah. His purpose is dwelling in tents. His purpose is loving him with all our heart, mind, and soul. And his purpose is for you to share and that all people may know. That all the nations may know that there's an Elohim in Yasharal. There's always been one. It's just the fact that we forgot about our tribal ways. We forgot about our tribal thoughts. We forgot about our signs and seasons and days and years. We forgot about the signs of the Shama'ims and the seasonal cycles. We forgot about our hurricanes and the storms and the rain and the things that gives us life. We forgot about it. But now he said we could think ourselves as both male and female when we become the gods and the goddesses that he made us in the beginning. And stop falling down to the very gods of this world and start raising up above who you're supposed to be. Start walking as the children, the sons and daughters of light in the earth. No matter what you've done in your past. No matter what got in your way. Arise, shine, for the light has risen upon you. Because that's your job, to shine. Right? For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.